Good morning, student. Architecture 110, we go back with the lecture after you finish quiz number 3. So we have few more chapters before we go with the final. I told you already about the final. We will start at November 26, exactly on Thanksgiving Day. That's the final round 1. Round 1, I give you the chance to do that. So after final round 1, I figure out student who can qualify for skip final. So that's why on Thanksgiving final round 1, all of student can take it, must take it, and give me the best answer. After that, I will email you. For some people need to go with the final round 2. It's on December 16. I think at 15, December 15 for final round 2. You must take this. And some people, they qualify after round 1 final. I email for them that they are done for the course. They don't need to see me on final round 2. So basically we have final round 1 and round 2. Round 1 will be start 26 Thursday 26 November. That's on the Thanksgiving Day. Okay, so today in the chapter we will discuss about the relates field and consultant engineer. Some people work with you in the same projects. Of course, in architecture major, you are the people to design for the building. After that, you need to contact with another consultant on the other major, for example, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, interior design, landscape design, something like that, before you finish home projects. So today we will talk about that. If we talk about the relay fields, we have many relay fields with architecture. We have architecture drafting, urban, regional planning, landscape architect, interior architect, and historic architecture. So the first of all, the architecture drafting, we have two different ones. The first one is manual drafting, and the second one is digital or computer drafting. Manual drafting, you do on the paper with the drawing table, the one you can adjustable and you draw in there, and everything you use for pencil, pen, eraser, scale. I mean, you do everything by your hand. The other one is computer drafting. You do everything on computer. So both of them have some limit for the process. For example, the manual drafting, every time when you see error, you need to erase it, and if you erase many times, it can make the paper is broken. About the computer, it's do maybe faster. You can delete, you can copy, you can do everything so fast. But about the sketch for the idea from design, it's you cannot do on computer drafting. It's maybe you cannot do better than on manual drafting. So both of them, I think that need to work together for the best result. Intern architects, after you graduate for bachelor degree on architecture, you can do for an intern architect, or you can start to do before that if some company they need intern one. But basically, after you graduate, you need to get the intern in any company, even private or government agency. It depends on you, and you can do on computer or you can do the drafting people. But a lot of private company, they hire you after you graduate with the CAD knowledge. That means you're very familiar with AutoCAD, or you do something on computer. But if you have experience, after a couple years you work for that, they like to hire you like both. You need to do for manual drafting and computer. And they use a lot of material system technology to produce for the drawing for construction. But right now, when I work for the city, on the position of plan checker, I think that's all of the drawing they submit for us by computer. Not much, maybe around few percent they submit for me by manual drafting. But I always request so they can do, at least I can read that. If they do the manual drafting, lettering, something like that, they need to show me clear, so make sense I can read this before I correct for them. So when you work in architecture field, beside of design for architecture, you need to contact or you need to working with the interior design, urban design, landscape architecture, on of the consultant about engineer for structural, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, construction and building inspection, so on. So that's why if you do one big projects, you need to work with a lot of people, not just few like this. We work more. For example, trust company working with you, some people working on special on some of the landscaping or urban. So more than that. Student, can you get associate degree in many college? You can transfer to other fields for bachelor degree, or you can stop there. You can get the job after you have AA degree. This is some example for you can see. This is the manual drafting. You need to use the scale, pencil, can be mechanical pencil, and you need eraser, pencil sharpener. Beside of that, you need the template for sketch, frame, scale, and more than that. So that's why this on the manual drawing. This is the computer. If you look at the computer, all of the lines so perfect because this is computer. So they do you can do everything look like solid, and you can do some clear because it's on computer. And if you use for the hand drafting, some kind you need the pencil, you need to erase if you see the error, and some kind you move a lot from the scale or the ruler, it can make the line you draw maybe flare. So that's why it depends. But on the manual drafting and computer drafting is some kind like they have the value, each of them is different. Okay. The second one is the sketch one. Like on architecture, I asked you on last time on the quiz number 3, I asked you to do the sketch. The sketch one, that means you do the idea, and after that you use the pencil to do so fast when you want to draw something on there. Everything you do like less than 10 or 15 minutes by the sketch. Some kind like the big one you can use like half an hour, something like that. But basically sketch is something you get the main idea, you sketch on a paper by pencil and soft pencil or the charcoal, and after that you shadow from that one. So basically you can do everything on the paper with pencil, charcoal or ink, something like that. You can make the sketch, and the sketch it just keep the main idea. They not show the detail from the building. Okay, so that's one, the drawing. Now the second one is urban and regional planning. If you do some kind like the big one, the big projects you create for community or population grow, basically the town or the city, and that's one you need for urban and regional planning. Or usually it is a master plan, and you need to meeting with the group neighborhood because you start with that design. And usually the meeting is during the evening or the weekend before we have the program to use the land. Number 3 is landscape architecture, plan and design land area for the parks. Some kind like you do around the building, or you do the private home, you do the campus, or you do some kind like the open space for some building. But this one is usually outside from the building, and they spend much their time in the office to create the plans, to design and cost estimate. They spend the rest of the work time at the job site. In 2012 and 2022, they grow up 14%. This is some of the master plan on the urban and regional planning. You can see that they show whole thing. For the big map with the street, local street, the freeway, and sometimes they cover the park, public parks. That means whole of the projects like the city scale, they have the big one. and this one for you can see the some of the landscape they design outside from the park. This one for another thing we need to focus on for the design. This one is the big plan for the civil engineer. This is some example for you can see the whole block like this. That means the corner from the city. So this is the big map, and this is belong to urban design. Same thing with this one. So basically urban design, that means you design for the big projects, include the street and sometimes freeway and national park, or the park, public park, or government building. So it includes many buildings at the same projects, very big one, and you call that the master. Same thing. This is one of design for the wetland. If you remember the wetlands, I told you before, wetland is some of the special, the land is wet and you cannot do a strong foundation for the building, so that's why the best way you just design some kind like the park, the public park, or you know, form up the back side from the building. This is some landscape also for the resource center in Bali. Landscape also. So landscape can be do outside from the building. It's regard with the grass, the flower, the trees, small lake or pond, and some kind like look like this. This is the yard for the student in university. They have the bench curved like this, and student can stay here, and the stage right here. So the slope up, so they can stay here with the lecturing or some kind like the group meeting. They can do like this. I like the design. It's very natural outside, so you can see that student can stay here and they can leave anytime with the event, and they can have the seat for a lot of students at the same time. Some of the landscape one they can use for they can share the space. If this one you can see another university or another city, you can see that they have the big courtyard and they have a route for you can go with another building. So this is share areas, the landscape together. This is the landscape outside. So in the landscape you see many regard with the tree, the grass, the flower, the pond, or you know, some the pool. So that's why the landscape is a lot of around. However, some office they like to use the landscape inside from the house. So for example, they want to do the balance for the office. If they feel a loss of table and panel, they need to add some tree, interior tree, for make sure that they balance the room area, and they can do for the office or the building. It feel more natural inside, so they can use the landscape inside also. This is outside one from one of the building. Okay, so now interior design. We have interior design is one of the major. You can work together when you in the project design, because interior design they cover more things. For example, they select the wall, they select the curtain, they select some kind like the tile on the floor, or you know, the molding on the wall. That means interior design, they select the color, they select the style interior, and also they select the furniture to match with the room idea. So that's why interior they do that job. They have the beautiful they determining the space requirement, which one they need to add more material in there, and the color. So that's why on that job belong to interior design. And they grew up 13% from 2012 to 2022. So they going up. This is some example for interior design. they have the floor. You can see that they select the floor. They can select the color in the wall and material also. They also select the curtain if the house they need it, or the lighting. You can see that interior design for the airport. They can select the landscape inside the tree for make the area you feel fresh, feel natural. This is the restaurant. They have the bar area. They have the light, and they have the ceiling surface for make sure that it's a little bit go with the old design. Another residential for interior design, they select the color. Even the furniture, they need to match with the color they use for the ceiling and the wall. And this is another design for you can go transition in the airport, and you see they can select the rug, and they also select the ceiling style for make sure that's on the way right here you feel it's not so far. Okay, this is another interior design. Inside here they have many soffit for you can see many layers from the soffit with a set light. This one make for the ceiling height. If you look around, it can be higher. Even the ceiling is just normal, it's not high. So that's why in this area they design many soffit, so that we can look like it's so high in the center. Same thing, they have some kind of the soffit design in the ceiling with a reset light. As you can see, the space is so big. Okay, number 5 is environmental design. Before we talk about interior design, we talk about landscape design. So now it's a environmental design. It design surrounding environment for devising the plan, program, building, and products. They refer for apply for arts and science to deal with the human design environmental. They have implication for industrial design of the products, and they also apply for ecological and sustainability issue. Number 6 is historic architecture. A lot of people didn't know that's one, but we have that's one. Sometimes we work with that one also. It's include from the building, open area, community, or other artificial construction. Environmental, it usually with regard with aesthetics effect. They include design for selection of restoration or remodel of existing building. A lot of the big building, you can see that they say architecture, museum, or some kind of museum. They have the value in historic, and they usually they keep the main existing. They just do some kind of remodel outside for that building only. They keep the value in the historic, so you can see some of them in there. Besides of that, we have some of the solar. This is the solar panel and the wind shaft, or some design. You can share the landscape between the building, or some kind like affordable area for a lot of people to share together on the park, or some community around. So many different design, but basic one you should understand that besides of the building, we need we have some more consultant or another major to help us before we go with the final. In this case, you can see that's the building on the top one. They use for the landscape, and to make on the roof one for make the cool temperature to go in the building. This is one of design combined between landscape and architecture. And this one you can see that they open. They use the material class around the building for make sure they can get the sunlight coming to the building. They save energy, and after that they can get a lot of fresh air. If they open a lot for the window, they can get a lot of air to come in the house. This is some kind belong to the historic architecture. Right now we keep at least some kind existing. We just do for reconstruction, something is very, very bad condition, and we need to do again for that one. But the main thing, we need to keep like it. So that's why it have the value on the historic. Same thing with Colosseum. You can see that's on Italy, and this is right now you can see that's look like just 1/4 from the building, but they keep that because that's have the value in history. And it just to reconstruction is something is so damaged, and they need to do again for they can stay. This is from the value from the history. You have the church from San Francisco, Lima, Peru, and you can see that they keep many church they have long ago on Spain, on French, Italy, and they have a lot of them just with the value from history. So right now it's temporary, they remain everything. It's something damaged and partial, they refix us, but the main idea they try and the best to keep it existing. Okay, so now be the part from consultant engineer. We have to work with a lot of consultant engineer for structure, electrical, mechanical, plumbing. And you know that structural engineer, they work with a lot of the load support with the code for the safety for the building. Electrical, they give you electrical inside from the building, the process, the light, outlet, panel, everything we regard with electrical, they give you. This one for structural engineering, they work with the loads, the building outside with the loads, and electrical, and they work a lot of electrical, just the small building and the big building. Mechanical, they work for the system in the top, for ventilation, for heat, for usually they work for heating or cooling in the side from the building. So they develop for everything on mechanical, for thermal device, engine, machine. So they work a lot in there. Plumbing, they work for you have the time to learn for a plumbing fixture. Plumbing engineer, they work a lot of sewing line repair, replacement, water line inside from the house, and the connection between the public to the private one. In plumbing engineer, you should remember American Society Plumbing Engineer, ASPE. They found in Los Angeles, 1964. They had 6,500 members. It's a non-profit association, and it's working right now. Electrical, mechanical people working. And we not forget that the civil engineer, they do a lot of the big projects on the road, airport, bridge, freeway. A lot of them they work for large projects. And civil, if you want to go for civil engineer, you need to get bachelor degree on civil engineer or civil engineering technology, and then it graduate the degree for the license to for senior position. I think the last one is the soil engineer. It's the one they working on geotechnology, they working on consultant field work, lab, and they search about the damage from the natural disaster to make sure the ground under your project is safe, is strong enough that you can build the building. Assist with the safety system, the stormwater management and infiltration. The service ensure to the safety to the railroad, the bridge one, and all the structure. So basically, the soil engineer, they provide cutting edge. They have the solution lab report for civil architecture and structural engineer. Okay. Civil engineer working on freeway and the big project bridge. And after that, soil engineer, they work for to make sure they get the soil report for all of you before we start what to do the foundation in the building. Structural engineer, mechanical engineer work together. Okay, so that's why we need to work with a lot of people, not just for, one or two. We have a lot of people working on it, consultant, and some of the people working on it for different measure. Okay, Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.